Haribol, Namaste, Krishna, Krishna. So tonight is the class will be on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 15. Haribol, Pinky, please, can you hear me? Haribol. Okay, please let me know if you can hear me. Haribol. Maom Vishnupataya Krishna Kristaya Bhutale. Thank you. Shrimati Surasarupananda Paramahasa Iti Namini Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Kristaya Bhutale. Shrimati Surasarupananda Paramahasa Iti Namini Nama Surasarupananda Paramahasa Namini Varakaruna Sarupaya Radhakrishna Kristaya Nama Surasarupananda Paramahasa Namini Gorakaruna Sarupaya Radhakrishna Kristaya Namaste Saraswati Te Gauravani Charine Devasesha Sunyavate Askacha Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Te Gauravani Charine Devasesha Sunyavate Askacha Deshatarine Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikasatara Sattva Shishima Jigakuru Siddhasarupananda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikasatara Sattva Shishima His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Asadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakor Ki Jai. Nitai Goswami Mission Ki Jai. Navadvita Dhamma Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Ki Jai. Mathuradam Ki Jai. Mayapur Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Amagina Timarandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Statpitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Swapadantekam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanshakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanan Pavenbhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. For speaking, first I offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagatguru Siddhasarupananda Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada is the mercy manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, and is very dear to Radha and Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are like wish-fulfilling trees, able to fulfill all the desires of the fallen living entities, and are full of compassion upon them. Haribo, Namaste. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining me. As we continue our journey through the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is in some ways is like a introductory text. It's like perhaps it's kind of like high school. The Srimad Bhagavatam is university. And Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study. And so so why is this? Right? What, why is, Bhagavad Gita is like a summary of the whole Vedic literatures, and so it's a wonderful scripture, yoga wisdom text or Vedic literature, contained within the Mahabharata. So it's being contained within the Mahabharata is like a bit of an indication that it is indeed like a sort of more of an introductory scripture. The Mahabharata, of course, is an itihasa or a history, but throughout this history is the pastimes of Krishna and the pastimes of Krishna's devotees. But it's very much it's a history. And contained within the history is many different stories. The primary story being the story of the conflict between the Kurus and the Pandavas. The two halves of a family, or the family of the Kurus, and the Pandavas, of course, are devotees of Krishna, and so the story is primarily about their struggles, their mistreatment at the hands of the Kurus, or the sons of Dhritarashtra, headed by Duryodhana, the attempt to steal their Maharaj Yudhisthira's rightful inheritance. But anyway, so it's a story. Primarily, it's the story of the Pandavas, but spun within or included within this stories, and very much in the nature of Vedic storytelling or histories, is stories within stories within stories. And this particularly occurs with the Pandavas in the Book of the Forest, the Vanapava, where after the horrific gambling match where Maharaj Yudhisthira and the Pandavas are stripped of all their ornaments and clothing and opulent clothing. Their wife Draupadi is dragged into the assembly by her hair and attempted to be disrobed by Dushasana, egged on by Duryodhana. And, fortunately, of course, Krishna extended her sari, her cloth, so that as Dushasana is trying to pull it off, the cloth just keeps being lengthened and lengthened and lengthened, and in the end he has to give up and throw up his hands and sit on the ground dejected. They've been unable to disrobe Draupadi in the assembly. So this is a brutal assembly. This is an assembly of men in a gambling hall, dragging in a princess and attempting to disrobe her. Within Vedic society, this is, shocking. Absolutely shocking. So anyway, so within this story of the Kurus and the Pandavas and their conflict, at the critical moment comes the Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita is actually the most religious, or the most portion describing spiritual life and yoga practices within the Mahabharata. So of course the other main discussion of the Mahabharata, or the longest main discussion, is the discussion between Maharaj Yudhisthira and Bhishma Maharaj as he's lying on the bed of arrows, waiting for the auspicious moment for him to leave his body. Bhishma Dev had the benediction or boon given to him by his father, his name is escaping me, but it's with him that the whole story originates. He wanted to marry Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman, and but this fisherman or head of a fishing tribe required of Maharaj Santanu, required of Maharaj Santanu that her offspring would be the heir to the throne. And Maharaj Santanu already, of course, had his son, Bhishma Dev, who was the son of Ganga Devi. And, so this was unconscionable. He couldn't disinherit or disfranchise Bhishma Dev. Of course, at this time, Bhishma was not known as Bhishma Dev. He was known as Deva. I think Deva Vrata or something like that. Anyway, so Maharaj Santanu was very unhappy about this because he wanted to marry Satyavati, but he was sort of moping around and unhappy, and Bhishma Dev asked his father's counselor, well, what's going on? Why is Maharaj Santanu so unhappy? So when he finds out what the reason is, because he wants to marry Satyavati, but to do so he has to disenfranchise Bhishma Dev of his right to take the throne, his succession to the throne. So of course then Bhishma Dev immediately goes to see the Satyavati's father and says, I will renounce the kingdom. I renounce my claim to the throne. But the fisherman was not satisfied with this and said, no, that's not good enough, because you'll get married and you'll have children, and those children will become entitled to the throne, and this will lead to conflict. And so Bhishma Dev then took a vow, a vrata, that he would not marry. He'd be a lifelong brahmachari. Of course, Bhishma Dev is a very handsome and attractive prince, and so this is a great austerity that he was taking on. Giving up, not only giving up the throne, but giving up becoming married. And so anyway, when he did this, from the sky is heard, Bhishma. Bhishma means terrible. So Bhishma took this terrible vow. So anyway, so in the Mahabharata later on, when when Bhishma Dev is lying on the bed of arrows, and Maharaj Yudhisthira is devastated that at this battle of Kurukshetra, so many people have died. At the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is lamenting about how people will die, about how he's going to have to fight with Bhishma Dev and ultimately kill Bhishma Dev. He's going to have to fight with Drona Acharya, his military teacher. He doesn't want to do it. So Arjuna is lamenting prospectively, looking to seeing what's going to happen in the future, and seeing that he's going to have to fight with worshipable elders, pujaha, that he's going to have to fight with worshipable superiors, and that this is wrong. And then of course he's also, gives all the different reasons why he doesn't want to fight. It's going to be bad for society. There's going to be lots of widows. The widows will be exploited. They'll be engaged in sexual activity outside of marriage. And as a result of this, there'll be vana sankara, which means people born out of wedlock and out of caste, or out of vana, right? And this is going to create problems in society. big problems. And we can see in society today the problems that are caused by children born out of wedlock and without fathers and so on. Of course, we've become very inured to this idea because it's so common. So many children, of course, are born what's known as illegitimate, whereas, in previous times to be born illegitimate, actually the term was called, they were called a bastard. Right, which bastard is a term of great disrespect and a swear word. Or you call someone a bastard, it's like, wow, that's like really heavy. So where does this come from? It's the term that comes from. It refers to children born out of wedlock. And of course today this is so common, like no one uses the term bastard to refer to someone born out of wedlock, and it would be considered most discriminatory and improper to look down upon someone who's born out of wedlock. Of course, so this is just within Western society over the past 50 years, 100 years that this has changed. Prior to that, it was a big deal. So what to speak of in Vedic society where it's a huge deal. So anyway, Arjuna is prospectively looking to the future, seeing what's going to happen in this battle of Kurukshetra and coming up with the reasons why he doesn't want to do it, lamenting, going, no, I don't want to do it. In fact, not only do I not want to do it, I'm not going to do it. I'd rather be a beggar. This is so much the idea that we've discussed in chapters 1, a little bit of chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 5 at great length. Arjuna's desire to not fight and his misunderstanding of Krishna's instructions, teachings concerning, not the body and attaining samadhi, being situated in prajna, sthita prajna, being firmly situated in wisdom, and then talking about sankhya and sannyas, and he's confused and saying, well, Krishna, what do you want me to do? Sometimes you're telling me to fight, or you are telling me to fight, and then other times you're talking about all these other kind of jnana, right? Knowledge and sankhya, analysis, and prajna, wisdom, and samadhi, and so Arjuna is confused. Okay, but so anyway, so this, we can see in Bhagavad Gita how this theme continues. But the conversation between Maharaj Yudhisthira and Bhishma Dev is after the battle has occurred. And now Maharaj Yudhisthira is lamenting about what has happened. Arjuna was worried about what was going to happen. Maharaj Yudhisthira, in his conversation with Bhishma Dev, is lamenting about what has happened. And he's feeling the weight and responsibility that this has happened solely so that Maharaj Yudhisthira can be the emperor, can take back the throne. And so this is a massive weight. Millions of men have died. Millions of soldiers have died. There's women lamenting, majorly, big time. They've lost their husbands. So all of this is, weighing heavily on Maharaj Yudhisthira. The weight, the responsibility. So anyway, so he's approaching Bhishma Dev, speak to him about the situation, essentially to make him feel better about it. And so anyway, this very long section of the Mahabharata is Bhishma Dev's conversation with Maharaj Yudhisthira. Now but it's not so much religion, it's more about dharma, about how to rule, kshatriya dharma, duties of a kshatriya, duties of an emperor, and talking about dharma and righteousness. Dharma is often translated as righteousness, the right, taking the right action. Dharma, duty, obligation, responsibility. So actually tomorrow is Sita's appearance day. And so the Ramayana, similar to the Mahabharata, another great itihasa or history, is also very much about dharma and righteousness. Lord Ramachandra is like the perfect example of a righteous king. He's always concerned about doing the right thing, even to the point where after Sita Devi is rescued and Ravana is finally killed after a huge battles, with all the different heroes on the Rakshasa's side, on Ravana's side, fighting with Indrajit and the Prahasta, all the different Kumbhakana, right? All the different Rakshasas. Finally, Ravana is killed by Lord Ramachandra, but before he'll actually accept Sita Devi back, she has to go through the entering into fire to show her purity, that she hadn't, improperly acted with Ravana. And so this is quite, some ways it's kind of, apparently harsh. So why is Lord Ramachandra acting this way? It's out of dharma, righteousness, to set the example. For the emperor of the world to have his wife under a cloud of impropriety, would not be good. So Lord Ramachandra, acting in accord with dharma, required her to enter into the fire, or didn't prevent her from entering into the fire. And of course, even later on, when there's rumors about, some guy in Ayodhya, his wife is having an illicit affair with a relationship, and he says, "Well, I'm not like Rama. I won't have you back. I won't associate with a woman who's been in a relationship with another man." And Lord Ramachandra, as a good ruler, had spies going around keeping in touch with what's happening with the people. So when this is reported back to him that people are saying this, then Lord Ramachandra, banished Sita Devi to the ashram of Valmiki. So of course the Ramayana is a tragic story. It's a tragedy. Anyway, so the conversation between Bhishma Dev and Maharaj Yudhisthira is very much about Dharma. So within the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita is where the real discussion of religion and devotional service takes place. But given the nature of the Mahabharata as an itihasa and a story, Bhagavad Gita is at a sort of introductory or basic level. There are three aspects to Vedic teachings. There's sambandha, a relationship. What is my identity? Who am I? Who is God? What is this material world? And what is my relationship with God, my relationship with others, and my relationship with this world? This is like sambandha, relationship. Then there is abhidheya, the process of achieving the goal of life, or sadhana bhakti, or the yoga processes, yoga paths. And then prayojana is the ultimate goal of life, the fifth and highest goal of life, which is prema bhakti, pure love for God. So now in the itihasas and in different Vedic literatures, most of the discussion is about the three goals of life, the three Purusha Arthas, or goals of life, which are, I spoke about these last week, Dharma, or righteousness, morality, Artha, economic development, attainment of wealth or pursuit of wealth, and then Kama, K-A-M-A, or pursuit of pleasure. These are like the three goals. And of these, as I've explained several times, Dharma is the most important. The pursuit of pleasure and the pursuit of wealth is done in a dharmic way, in accordance with Dharma, or righteousness. And the fourth goal of life, as I described last week, again, is mukti, liberation, desire for liberation. But the fifth and highest goal is bhakti. Okay, so in the Bhagavad Gita, of course, there is some sections on abhidaya, the process of attaining the goal of life. Krishna describes the paths of kama yoga, and jnana yoga, the path of knowledge, and of course the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is to pursue the path of bhakti yoga. In fact, at the end of chapter 6, Krishna says that the topmost yogi is he who is, focused on me. Yoginas mapi sarvesham, madgatena interrupt. One who has full faith, Shraddhavan, one who has full faith in Krishna and is constantly engaged in relating with Krishna. This is chapter 6, text 47, where Krishna says, and of all yogis, the one who abides, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. And in various verses in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, of course, glorifies devotional service. But it's a relatively small, like 700 verses in total. The number of verses dealing with the path of bhakti and developing love for Krishna are relatively small, a small number. So I haven't actually counted them. That might be something good to do, but it's ultimately not that many. Certainly less than 50, probably significantly less than that. And then prayojana, the ultimate goal of life. There's very little within Bhagavad Gita that talks about the ultimate goal of life, which is pure love for Krishna, prema bhakti. So in other words, relationships with Krishna, loving relationships. There's the 5 rasas or flavors of, shanta rasa, dasya rasa, sakya rasa, vatsala rasa, madhura rasa, the neutrality, servant, friend, parent, and lover. Right? So there's no discussion whatsoever about loving Krishna in a relationship in Madhurya Rasa. And parenthood. So what we do see in Bhagavad Gita is the friendship relationship between Krishna and Arjuna. So we have some insight into rasa, or loving relationships with Krishna, and there's a couple of verses in Bhagavad Gita that allude to it. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur liked to analyze Srimad Bhagavatam, and he analyzed Bhagavad Gita in terms of sambandha, abhidaya, and prayojana. And anyway, so he was able to pick out a few verses which he said he analyzed as being relating to prayojana, the goal of life. So anyway, Bhagavad Gita this is why it's like the high school kind of level, because it's not very much about abhidaya, the process of bhakti yoga. There's a lot about the process of yoga in general, then less about the process of bhakti yoga, and very little on prayojana, the ultimate goal of life. It's largely about sambandha. Who am I? I'm a spirit soul, right? Different. And then there's Paramatma, description of Paramatma, and then a lot of description of the nature of this world, right? The modes of material nature. There's like 2.5 chapters that are basically describing the modes of material nature. And there's chapters describing Krishna. Particularly in the middle sections of the Bhagavad Gita, from chapters 7 to 12, which are generally described as being about bhakti. A lot of that, chapter 7, and chapter 10, and chapter 11 are very much about different aspects of Krishna. And in a lot of them, 10 and 7 and 10 in particular, are kind of describing Krishna in terms of his opulences. So they're not even directly describing Krishna himself in his personal form and his personal relationships. They're more describing his opulences and comparing him to different great things to get some sense of his majesty. And of course in chapter 11, Krishna is revealing his universal form, his Vishvarupa, to Arjuna, which completely blows Arjuna's mind. So Bhagavad Gita is, in that sense, a high school kind of level introduction to Vedic teachings. It's primarily about sambandha, relationship, who I am, who God is, what's my relationship with Him, what is this material world, and what's my relationship with it. This is very much the level of Bhagavad Gita. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that it's not important for devotees to study it and understand it, but the point of it is Srimad Bhagavatam is the university level. And why is this? Because it's starting from the platform of the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, that one should just surrender to Krishna, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and one should surrender to Him and engage in a loving relationship with Him. So this whole process we're engaged in is about developing love for Krishna. It's not about understanding Bhagavad Gita or understanding Vedic literatures. Of course, it's helpful to study and understand these literatures, but it's not the goal. The goal is not mental understanding. The goal is to develop actual love for Krishna. To develop a loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, Krishna, the all-attractive person. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, this loving relationship with Krishna is revealed. And in 10th canto, the loving relationships between Krishna and his devotees in the different rasas. And then the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami. And that there is analysis and insight into the higher levels of love for Krishna. So, anyway, sorry I've kind of taken up most of the class here all the time for the class in speaking about this. So continuing in chapter 5, and we're in a section on the three doers. And so the three doers, it's kind of, this is like, so who are these three doers that I'm talking about here, right? So there's Krishna is, so the question is it the soul? Is the soul the doer? Or is it the conditioned soul, in other words, the combination of the soul with the material mind and senses and gross physical body, right? Or is it Krishna who is the doer? Who is the doer? Who's causing all this doing that's going on? We're all busily running around doing things, right? Constantly. We're all in a constant state of motion. So who is the doer? Is it the pure spirit soul? Krishna, and the answer to that, of course, is no. The pure spirit soul is aloof. As I've described, the pure spirit soul is like the passenger in the chariot of the body, with the intelligence being the driver and the mind being the reins and the horses being the senses. And, the soul is just kind of like, what's going on here? They're like the passenger in the car. I mentioned sometimes we describe the soul as being the driver. Like Prabhupada gives the example of, somebody gets in a car accident, they come out and say, you hit me, it's like, and it's like the, anyway, so we talk about the driver of the car as being the soul, but a more better analysis of it is that the soul is like the passenger in the car and someone else is driving it. The driver is the intelligence and the mind and the subtle body of the soul. And so we discussed last week that this is like the nature of the soul. There's the conditioned nature. This is, in other words, the conditioning of the soul, our particular nature, our karma, right? And our what's known as samskaras, or impressions on the mind. So it's not the pure spirit soul. And then there's the question of, well, is it the Supreme Soul? Is it Krishna who's doing this? And so last week we discussed how in text 14, the embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of actions. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So we discussed last week that the word, here, master, was Prabhu. So many of the commentators on this verse, the Vaishnava commentators, are taking it that this verse actually refers to Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and following the lead of Baladev Vijayabhusana, takes it as the term Prabhu is referring to the Atma, or the Deha, the Dehi rather, the possessor of the body. But in either case, this activity is of the body, the work being done, is due to material nature. And so then in text 15, tonight's verse, Krishna says, nor does the Supreme Spirit, and here the word used is vibhu, nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Na date kashishit papam na chaiva sukritim vibhuhu agyena vritam jnanam tena muyanti jantavaha. So na is never, adate accepts or takes or receives, kashishit anyone or anyone's, papam sin, the simple reaction, evil deed or wrong. Papam, one sense, literally means future suffering. Right? So this is papam. Right? If we engage in simple activity, this means we are going to suffer in the future. So we should avoid causing harm to others or engaging in simple activity. What is simple activity? This word sin, it takes on like a negative connotation because the way so many Christians have taken it. But simple activity means to engage in activities which are contrary to the Shastric injunctions. Krishna says in 1624 You know that Tajmak Shastram Pramanam Te Kaya Kaya Vyavasita. To know what should be done or not done, Kaya Kaya, what should be done or not done, one should study Shastra. So, if we act in a way opposite to Shastra or Scripture, then this is sinful activity, and it will result in future suffering. Na, not, cha. So this is the second time Krishna is saying not. Na, cha also, eva, certainly. This is na, chaiva. Sometimes it's just like a filler, this eva. Anyway, sukritam, pious activities, or the pious reaction. So this is the opposite. Papam is sinful activity that's creating negative future reactions, karmic reactions. And then sukritam, this is pious activities, good activities, acting in accordance with Scripture, doing good things for others, being a nice person, not taking advantage of others. Yeah, it's all very simple, right? Don't do bad stuff and do good stuff, and then everything will be okay. It's from a karmic perspective. And Vibhu, the Supreme Lord, the Great, the Supreme Controller, the Omnipresent, the All-Pervading, the Eternal. And then sometimes it's taken as the Atman. So Vibhu, word coming from Vibhu is Vibhuti. So chapter 10, Krishna is describing his vibhutis, his opulences. And he describes in great length, after from text 16 through to the end of the chapter, which I think there's 43 or 44 verses, or maybe 42 in chapter 10. So there's a good almost 30 verses describing Krishna's opulences, his vibhutis. This is Vibhu, the Supreme Lord. So the Supreme Lord, he's not responsible for our papam or our sukritam. He's not responsible for our sinful activities, or our papam, our sinful activities, or our sukritam, our pious activities. He's not responsible for it. We're doing that. We, so not we, the pure spirit soul, who's like the passenger, but the spirit soul who's covered by material nature, the material mind and the intelligence. And then in the second part of the verse, Krishna says, Agyena vritam jnanam tena muyanti jantava. Agyanena, by ignorance, avritam, covered, enveloped, concealed, surrounded, jnanam, knowledge or transcendental knowledge or wisdom. Tena, for that reason, by this muyante, bewildered, are deluded, they're crazed, they're confused. Jantavaha, the living entities, the living beings or people. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So, why are we in this situation we're in? Right? What's going on? Like, the spirit soul is not the actor. Krishna is not the Supreme Lord, Krishna, God, Vishnu. He's not the one causing it, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is impelling us to act. It's the nature of the soul to be active, right? To do. And this is Krishna's arrangement. Krishna's created everything. Everything is coming from Krishna. But he's not responsible for our actions. We're responsible for our actions. And so why are we acting in this way that's creating karmic reaction? Either bad karmic reaction, which is like bad, negative, or even good karmic reaction. So to a devotee, good karma is no different than bad karma, in the sense that all karma requires one to remain within this material world to experience it. So what is it? What is this situation? Right? We're covered by maya, by ignorance. We all have our free will. We can wonder, gee, well, gosh, why am I suffering? We can blame Krishna. People do. They blame God all the time. It's God's fault. Why am I suffering? God made me suffer. Right? God made me suffer. Right? We blame God. If there was a God, my son wouldn't have died. If there was a God, this wouldn't have happened. This bad thing that I'm experiencing wouldn't have happened. Right? But so we have to accept responsibility for our own situation. Our karma, we're known as nitya bandha, eternally conditioned, or anadi. Anadi means beginningless. In the Vedanta Sutra, the commentators on this verse are referring to Vedanta Sutra, that there is no beginning to karma. Right? So why is it like this? So Prabhupada gave a very nice lecture once talking about this topic. And it's like, if you look at your current situation, and it's like, well, do you love Krishna? Do you have love for Krishna? Or are you, so what is love? Unconditional love. Krishna is the most important person in my life. Krishna is the center of my life. Is that our real situation? Is that our situation? Or are we more concerned about ourselves? Me, and what I want to do, and I'm the center, and Krishna somehow fits into it, into my identity as conceiving of myself as a devotee, but I'm the center. I'm engaging in devotional service because I like doing it. If I don't like doing it, I don't do it anymore. I laugh, but actually it's tragic. Now, unfortunately, oftentimes devotees will lose sight of the goal. Maybe going along and they get distracted. Oh, I really like playing pickleball. Yeah, I want to play pickleball. I'm going to play pickleball for hours a day. And I'm married, but I'm going to this pickleball club, and there's all kinds of people playing pickleball, and there's lots of beautiful women playing pickleball. Oh, I'm going to play pickleball with them. Before you know it, you've forgotten that you're supposed to be a devotee, that associating with members of the opposite sex, other than your spouse, is, that's not supposed to happen. Forming intimate relationships, intimate, friendly relationships. Before you know it, then you've fallen down and you forget all about Krishna, and you get... Anyway, so this is... So the point is, we're creating our own situation. We're the reprobates. The material world is where the people who don't love Krishna are. It's where the criminals are. When we love Krishna, that's the spiritual world, whether we're in the material world or the spiritual world. We all have our free will. Right? You can't force someone to love someone. This happens in divorces or marriage breakups. Ultimately, generally speaking, usually there's one person who wants to end the marriage more than the other one. The other one doesn't want to end it. They don't really want to end it. And they're lamenting. They're, upset about it. Why is this happening? Why don't you love me? You used to love me. Why don't you love me anymore? You know, so this is the this is where one learns free will. You can't make someone love you. You know, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in 1864, Yathekchasi tata kuru. So do as you wish to do. Right? Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita, he's coming to the end. He's spoken to Arjuna, the most confidential knowledge, and he's speaking to him because he is his very dear friend. He's very priya, very dear to me. And then he says, Yathekchasi tata kuru. So do as you wish to do. Right? So you have your free will. So anyway, so this is the, you know, we're covered by ignorance. Right? We don't love Krishna. So this is Maya, this is ignorance. We want to be the enjoyer. So we have the opportunity to be the enjoyer. But out of his love for us, Krishna is teaching us that no, this world is not our home. There is no happiness here. You know, as Prabhupada says in a very nice chanting tape, you know, chant Kirtan, he calls out, just love Krishna. Just love Krishna. So thank you very much. I've gone a little over time, so I'll just chant for a minute. And I got a bit carried away at the start here. So anyway, thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Namaste, Krishna, Krishna, thank you so much. Thank you so much.